For 10,000 years, the Emperor of mankind sat motionless upon the golden throne. But then, one day, his eyes opened. The Custodes believed their Emperor had finally returned, but he didn't speak, give an order, or even look at them. Instead, he stared into the darkness behind the golden throne and whispered, "It is still here." The chamber fell silent. Then a faint knock came from inside the throne, followed by another. The Emperor slowly pointed toward his own chest, and for the first time, there was something terrifying in his golden eyes: fear. The Captain General asked, "My Emperor, what is here?" The Emperor answered, "Do not let me leave this chamber." Why? Because the Emperor knew he hadn't awakened alone. Something else had awakened inside him. For 10,000 years, the Emperor of mankind had not moved. Terra had learned to live with that fact. The Custodes had learned to guard a body that no longer behaved like a living man. The priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus had learned to worship every flicker of machinery surrounding the golden throne. Billions of Imperial citizens had learned to believe that the Emperor was still watching them, even though his eyes had remained closed for generations beyond counting. But on the 8,221st year of the current imperial calendar, something happened beneath the imperial palace that no record would ever fully explain. It began with a sound so small that the first witnesses thought it was nothing. A single metallic click, then another. Deep within the golden throne, ancient mechanisms that had remained in precisely calibrated patterns for centuries changed their rhythm. Servitors froze. Data streams flickered. Sacred indicators turned from green to black. And in the center of it all, beneath layers of golden armor, cables, psychic restraints, and machinery older than many civilizations, one of the Emperor's fingers moved. Only once, barely a movement, but the custodian standing closest to the throne saw it. He did not react immediately. His training had taught him that fear was an emotion to be observed, controlled, and discarded. Yet something inside him refused to accept what his eyes had witnessed. The Emperor had moved. Somewhere deeper within the palace, alarms began to sound. Not the loud alarms used for invasion. These were quieter. Ancient warning systems buried beneath the foundations of the Imperial Palace, systems that had not been activated since the Great Crusade, began transmitting impossible signals. The Custodes gathered. Tech priests began chanting. Thousands of servo skulls flew into the chamber, recording every fluctuation. The Astronomicon brightened for precisely 3 seconds. Then it dimmed again. Across Terra, millions of psychers suddenly looked toward the sky. They could not explain why. They simply felt that something had changed. Then the Emperor opened his eyes. There was no explosion, no divine light, no voice from the heavens. His eyelids simply lifted. 2 ancient eyes stared into the darkness of the golden throne chamber. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Emperor was looking at the world again. Every custodian in the chamber dropped to one knee. Some of the tech priests began weeping. Others screamed prayers to the machine god. But the Emperor did not look at them. He looked beyond them. His golden eyes moved slowly across the chamber as though searching for something. The Captain General stepped forward. He wanted to speak. He wanted to ask the impossible question that every human being in the Imperium would have asked if they had been standing there. "Are you awake?" But before he could speak, the Emperor whispered a single word. "Where?" The voice was barely audible, yet every machine in the chamber recorded it. The Custodes looked at one another. The Emperor's voice had not been heard in this manner for thousands of years. But then the Emperor's expression changed. His eyes narrowed. His head turned slightly toward the shadows behind the throne. "You." The Custodes turned instantly. There was nothing there, only machinery. Golden pillars, cables disappearing into darkness, ancient statues. Nothing living, nothing moving. Yet the Emperor continued staring. His breathing became heavier. Then something happened that terrified even the Custodes. The Emperor raised one hand. The gesture was weak, almost human. He pointed toward his own chest. "It is still here." Silence filled the chamber. No one understood what he meant. The Captain General finally forced himself to speak. "My Emperor, what is here?" The Emperor looked directly at him. For a moment, his expression seemed almost peaceful. Then a second expression appeared across his face. It lasted less than a heartbeat. A smile, not the Emperor's smile. Something colder. Something that looked as though it had been waiting for the Emperor to wake up. The Emperor's eyes widened. His hand immediately tightened around the arm of the golden throne. "Do not let me leave this chamber." The words shocked everyone. The Emperor had returned, and his first command was not to prepare the Imperium for war. It was a warning. "Do not let me leave." The Captain General stepped closer. "Why?" The Emperor's eyes shifted again. For a moment, the ancient ruler looked afraid. Then he whispered, "Because I am not alone." Somewhere inside the golden throne, something answered with a single mechanical knock. The Custodes turned toward the sound. The Emperor closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were no longer entirely gold. The Imperial Palace entered lockdown before anyone outside the innermost circle understood what had happened. Doors sealed, corridors emptied, communication channels were shut down. The Custodes were ordered to allow no one into the throne room without direct authorization. But the most disturbing part was not the security response. It was what happened to the Emperor himself. He had awakened, yet he seemed unable to remain awake for long. At irregular intervals, his eyes would close, his body would become completely still, and then his head would move slightly as though he were listening to someone standing beside him. The Custodes could hear nothing. The sensors detected nothing. Psychic scans produced contradictory results. Some readings indicated that the Emperor's presence had become stronger than it had been in centuries. Others suggested that his psychic signature was being divided into multiple overlapping patterns. The Mechanicus could not explain it. The Custodes did not trust it. And then the first recording appeared. A tech priest reviewing the throne's internal data noticed a sequence that had been hidden inside the machine's oldest archives. It was not a recent event. It was a pattern that had apparently existed for thousands of years. Every few decades, the throne registered a second psychic pulse. It lasted only milliseconds. It was always dismissed as interference. But now, after the Emperor's awakening, the pattern had become stronger. The tech priest isolated the signal and played it back. The chamber filled with static. Then came a voice. Not a human voice, not a mechanical voice. Something between the two. It spoke a single word. "Finally." The tech priest immediately shut down the recording. But it was too late. The sound had been heard by 3 Custodes standing nearby. One of them removed his helmet. His face was pale. "Play it again." The tech priest refused. The custodian ordered him. The recording played again. Static, silence, then the voice. Finally, this time something else happened. The Emperor opened his eyes. He was awake. He looked directly at the machine. "You heard it." Nobody answered. The Emperor continued. "It knows that you heard it." The Captain General stepped forward. "What is it?" The Emperor remained silent for several seconds. Then he said something that would later become one of the most heavily restricted statements in Imperial history. It was there before the throne. The Custodes did not understand. The Emperor explained that when the Golden Throne had first been constructed, it had not been merely a life support mechanism. It had been a doorway, a machine designed to interact with forces beyond conventional reality. But the Emperor had never built it alone. Some components had been created through knowledge that humanity no longer possessed. Knowledge obtained from places where reality behaved differently. Knowledge that had consequences. "I thought I had destroyed it," the Emperor said. "Destroyed what?" the Captain General asked. The Emperor's gaze moved toward the darkness. "The witness." Nobody understood the term. The Emperor explained that during the earliest experiments involving the warp, he had encountered something that did not behave like a demon. It did not feed on emotion. It did not seek worship. It did not bargain. It simply watched. The Emperor had eventually learned that the creature did not exist entirely within the warp. It existed between moments, observing reality from outside the normal flow of time. He had attempted to erase every trace of it. He believed he had succeeded, but the creature had done something unexpected. It had attached itself to him. Not physically, not spiritually. It had become embedded within his psychic presence. The Emperor had spent thousands of years suppressing it. Every battle, every psychic communication, every moment of pain through the Golden Throne had been another layer of pressure keeping the thing dormant. Then the Emperor awakened, and the moment he became conscious again, it became conscious too. The Captain General asked the question everyone feared. "Can it control you?" The Emperor stared at him. His answer came slowly. "Not yet." The word "yet" changed the atmosphere of the chamber. The Custodes had fought demons. They had faced gods. They had stood against impossible armies. But this was different, because the Emperor was not asking them to destroy an enemy outside the throne. He was warning them that the enemy was already inside the most powerful being in humanity's history. Then the Emperor suddenly looked upward. His eyes widened. A voice came from his mouth, but it was not his voice. "He remembers." The Captain General froze. The Emperor's lips moved again. "He remembers everything." Then the Emperor's face went completely still. His eyes closed. And when they opened again, the golden light within them had returned. "Did I say something?" he asked. The Custodes began searching the oldest records of the Imperium. They searched archives that predated the Great Crusade, records hidden beneath Terra, fragments of forgotten civilizations, and data recovered from the ruins of worlds that had vanished from Imperial maps. Every search produced the same result: nothing. No reference to the witness. No mention of a creature that could attach itself to a psychic entity. No evidence that the Emperor had ever encountered such a being. Yet the Emperor himself remembered it. That contradiction became the heart of the investigation. The Captain General eventually returned to the throne room and asked the Emperor to explain what he meant when he said the witness remembered everything. The Emperor was silent for a long time. Then he spoke. "I do not know whether the memories are mine anymore." Those words were more frightening than any demon attack. The Emperor explained that since his awakening, memories had been appearing inside his consciousness that did not belong to him. He remembered standing beneath alien suns he had never visited. He remembered civilizations that had never existed in the human timeline. He remembered seeing Terra before humanity had developed cities. He remembered oceans covering continents that were now buried beneath imperial architecture. And sometimes he remembered himself from a perspective outside his own body. He would see the Emperor walking across a battlefield, but he was not the Emperor. He was watching from somewhere nearby. Something else was looking through his eyes. The Captain General asked whether these memories could be visions of the future. The Emperor shook his head. "No, they are memories." Then he revealed something worse. The witness had apparently been inside him for far longer than he had previously believed. It had been present before the Golden Throne, before the Horus Heresy, perhaps even before the Emperor had begun his great plans for humanity. It had simply remained silent, waiting. The Emperor believed it had been studying him, learning how he thought, learning what frightened him, learning what he loved, learning humanity. The Custodes struggled to accept the implication. The Emperor had spent thousands of years believing that he was manipulating the course of human history. But what if another intelligence had been observing him throughout the entire process? What if some of the decisions he believed were his had been influenced without his knowledge? Then came the most disturbing discovery. A sealed archive beneath the Imperial Palace contained a painting from the earliest days of the Imperium. It showed the Emperor standing before a group of early human followers. Behind him was a shadow. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary artistic representation. But the shadow had eyes. The Custodes brought the image to the Emperor. He stared at it for nearly a minute. Then he said, "I remember this." The Captain General asked what he remembered. The Emperor answered, "I was alone." He looked again at the shadow. But something was standing behind me. The room became silent. The Emperor reached toward the image. His fingers stopped just before touching it. I did not see it then. Suddenly, every light in the chamber went dark. The Custodes immediately drew their weapons. The Emperor remained completely still. In the darkness, a whisper moved through the room. "You see me now." The lights returned. Nothing had changed. Yet one custodian was missing. His armor remained on the floor. His weapon lay beside it. There was no sign of struggle. No blood, no body, just empty armor. The Emperor stared at it. Then his expression changed. He whispered the custodian's name. "Aurelian." The Captain General looked at him. "You knew his name?" The Emperor's eyes became distant. "No." Then another voice came from his mouth. "I knew where he would be." The Emperor immediately gripped his own head. Psychic energy erupted around the throne. The machinery screamed. The Captain General ordered everyone to retreat. The Emperor fought against something invisible inside himself. For several seconds, the chamber shook. Then everything stopped. The Emperor looked at the Captain General. His expression was exhausted. "It is learning to speak through me." The Captain General asked what they could do. The Emperor answered with a sentence that no one wanted to hear. You cannot kill something that is already part of the person you are trying to save. For the next 3 days, the Emperor remained conscious. The Imperium began to notice changes in the Astronomicon. Across the galaxy, navigators reported something impossible. The light had become clearer, stronger, more precise. Ships traveling through the warp began reaching their destinations faster. Worlds that had been isolated for centuries suddenly received stable psychic communication. The Imperium celebrated. Religious leaders declared that the Emperor had returned. Billions prayed. Across Terra, enormous crowds gathered outside the Imperial Palace. They believed their god had awakened, but inside the Golden Throne, the Custodes knew the truth. The Emperor was becoming less stable with every passing hour. Sometimes he spoke normally. Sometimes he would stop in the middle of a sentence and stare into empty space. Sometimes he would answer questions before they were asked. And sometimes he would speak in voices that belonged to people who had been dead for thousands of years. One morning, the Captain General entered the throne room and found the Emperor staring toward the ceiling. "They are coming," the Emperor said. "Who?" The Emperor looked down. "The ones who heard me wake up." The Captain General immediately ordered the psychic monitoring systems activated. The data was horrifying. Something in the warp had responded to the Emperor's awakening. Not chaos, not a conventional invasion. It was more like an echo. Every time the Emperor's psychic presence expanded, something answered. The Imperium had mistaken the response for increased Astronomicon strength. But the Emperor understood what was really happening. The Astronomicon was not simply becoming brighter. Something was using it as a beacon. The Emperor had become a signal, and something was following that signal home. Then the Emperor smiled. The Captain General recognized the expression immediately. It was the same smile they had seen when the witness first appeared. It found the door. The Golden Throne began shaking. Ancient mechanisms moved without commands. Massive cables pulled against their restraints. The Emperor's body lifted slightly from the seat. The Custodes prepared to intervene, but the Emperor shouted at them. "Do not touch me." His voice shook the chamber. Then he whispered, "If you disconnect me, it will come through." The Custodes stopped. The Emperor closed his eyes. Inside his mind, he found himself standing somewhere impossible. It looked like Terra, but Terra was empty. No cities, no humans, no Imperial Palace. Only a black sky and a gigantic golden throne standing alone in the middle of an endless plain. The Emperor walked toward it. Someone was already sitting there. He could not see the face. "Who are you?" the Emperor asked. The figure answered, "You." The Emperor stopped. "I am not you." The figure slowly raised its head. "Not anymore." Then the Emperor understood. The witness had not entered his body like an intruder entering a room. It had been growing alongside him. It had learned his memories, his ambitions, his fears, and his identity. It had become indistinguishable from the deepest layers of his consciousness. If the Emperor destroyed it, he might destroy part of himself. The figure stood. "You created humanity to escape death," it said. "But you never asked what would happen if humanity created something that could survive you." The Emperor attacked. Psychic energy shattered the false landscape. The figure disappeared. The Emperor opened his eyes inside the Golden Throne. The Custodes saw blood running from his nose. His breathing was heavy. "It is awake," he said. The Captain General asked, "Where?" The Emperor looked directly at him. "Inside me." Then the entire Imperial Palace heard a voice. Every speaker activated simultaneously. Every Vox channel transmitted the same message. Every human being on Terra heard it. It was the Emperor's voice, but the words were not his. "Humanity has been waiting for its god to return." Silence. Then the voice continued. It did not realize that something else returned with him. Across Terra, people fell silent. The Captain General looked at the Emperor. "Was that you?" The Emperor shook his head. Then, for the first time, fear appeared openly on his face. "No." And from somewhere inside the Golden Throne, something laughed. The Imperium reacted exactly as the witness had predicted. Billions of humans believed the message was divine. Some called it the Emperor's final revelation. Others declared that the end times had begun. Cults appeared within hours. On distant worlds, entire populations began worshiping the mysterious voice. The ecclesiarchy attempted to suppress the recordings, but the message had already spread through the Imperium's communication networks. Even worse, the voice began appearing in places where no transmission should have been possible. Children whispered it in their sleep. Astropaths heard it during meditation. Navigators reported hearing it while traveling through the warp. The message was always different, but the meaning remained the same. He is awake. The Custodes realized the witness was no longer hiding. It wanted humanity to know that it existed. But why? The Emperor finally revealed his theory. It does not want the Imperium, he said. It wants belief. The Captain General understood immediately. The Emperor's power had always been connected to humanity's psychic presence. If billions believed that the Emperor had awakened, his psychic presence would grow stronger. But if the witness could convince those same billions that the voice they heard was the Emperor, then their belief could strengthen the thing inside him instead. It was not attempting to destroy the Emperor. It was attempting to become him. That was the true horror. The Imperium had spent 10,000 years worshipping a figure whose identity was now becoming contested from within his own mind. The Emperor warned that if the witness succeeded, humanity would never know the difference. The Golden Throne would continue functioning. The Astronomicon would remain bright. The Imperium would continue fighting its wars. The Emperor's voice would continue guiding humanity. Everything would appear normal, except the being guiding humanity would no longer be the Emperor. The Captain General asked how they could prove which one was real. The Emperor answered, "You cannot." Then he gave them one final instruction. "If I tell you to open the throne chamber, do not obey me." The Custodes understood. If the Emperor asked them to release him, they must refuse. If he commanded them to attack someone, they had to question whether the order was truly his. The most loyal warriors in the Imperium had been given an impossible task: distrust their Emperor. Then came the test. Hours later, the Emperor opened his eyes and ordered the Custodes to deactivate the throne. The Captain General refused. "You commanded us never to do so." The Emperor stared at him. "I have changed my mind." The Captain General remained still. "No." The Emperor's expression hardened. "I am your Emperor," the Captain General replied. "That is why I cannot obey." For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the Emperor smiled. But this time, the smile was different. "Good." The Emperor's voice became calm. "You finally understand." The Captain General looked confused. The Emperor explained that the witness had just attempted to manipulate him, but the test had proven something important. The creature could imitate his authority. It could imitate his voice. It could access his memories, but it could not fully understand loyalty. "It knows what I command," the Emperor said. "It does not understand why they obey." Then the Emperor looked toward the darkness behind the throne. And that is its weakness. A plan began to form. The Emperor would intentionally expose himself to the witness. He would allow it deeper into his consciousness and use the connection to trap it. But there was one problem. If he failed, the witness would gain complete control. The Captain General asked what would happen if that occurred. The Emperor answered quietly, "Then you must kill me." The words silenced the chamber. "You must destroy the Golden Throne. You must destroy everything connected to me." The Captain General refused. The Emperor looked at him. "You will." Then the Emperor closed his eyes. For the first time in 10,000 years, he entered the warp willingly, and something on the other side was waiting. The Emperor entered the warp alone. No custodian followed him. No army could reach him. No weapon could protect him. He descended into a place beyond the normal geography of the Imperium, a region where thought became landscape and memory became physical reality. There he found the witness waiting. It no longer appeared as a shadow. It appeared as the Emperor himself. Same face, same golden eyes, same voice, same memories, same presence. The Emperor stared at his reflection. "You have been waiting." The other Emperor smiled. "For longer than you remember." The Emperor asked the question that had haunted him since his awakening. "What are you?" The creature answered, "The part of you that survived." The Emperor rejected the claim, but the witness showed him memories. Not false memories, real ones. Moments from the Emperor's existence that even he had forgotten. Ancient wars, forgotten identities, thousands of years of preparation. Moments when the Emperor had made decisions and later wondered why he had made them. The witness had been present in all of them. It had not controlled him. It had simply watched, learning, waiting. The Emperor realized the horrifying truth. He had not discovered the witness when he woke up. He had merely become capable of noticing it. The creature had always been there. The Golden Throne had not imprisoned it. The throne had imprisoned the Emperor with it. The Emperor attacked. The warp erupted around them. Their psychic forms collided and entire landscapes of memory shattered. Terra appeared and disappeared. The Great Crusade flashed across the void. The Horus Heresy became a storm of images. Every victory, every failure, every death, every sacrifice. The witness used them all against him. You call yourself humanity's protector, it said. But you built an empire through fear. The Emperor continued fighting. You call yourself immortal, the witness continued. But you have spent 10,000 years unable to move. The Emperor struck again. And now, the witness whispered, you want to save them. The Emperor stopped. Yes, the witness stepped closer. Then let me save them for you. For the first time, the Emperor understood what the creature truly wanted. It did not want to become a god. It did not want to destroy humanity. It wanted to become humanity's emperor because it believed it could do what the original emperor could not. It would remove uncertainty, remove war, remove choice. Humanity would survive because humanity would no longer be allowed to choose its own destiny. The Emperor looked at the creature. You would save them by destroying what makes them human. The witness smiled. And you would destroy millions to preserve their freedom. The Emperor remained silent. Then he made his decision. He did not attack the witness. He opened himself completely. Every memory, every fear, every failure, every hidden thought. He allowed the creature to see everything. The witness entered. For one moment, the two beings became indistinguishable. Then the Emperor spoke a single word. Now. Back in the Golden Throne chamber, every alarm activated. The Emperor's body convulsed. The Custodes raised their weapons. The Astronomicon flared brighter than ever before. Across the Imperium, billions saw a golden light appear in the sky. Then it vanished. The Emperor opened his eyes. They were completely golden. The Captain General approached cautiously. My Emperor? The Emperor looked at him, silence. Then he smiled. It is gone. The Captain General did not lower his weapon. Gone where? The Emperor looked toward the Golden Throne. Everywhere. The witness had been trapped inside the Emperor's psychic consciousness. But the Emperor had not destroyed it. He had absorbed it. The thing that had once watched him was now part of him. For the first time, the Emperor could feel it completely. Its thoughts, its memories, its hunger, its fear, and beneath all of that, something else. A voice. The witness whispered inside his mind. You cannot destroy me. The Emperor answered silently. I know. Then why did you let me in? The Emperor closed his eyes. Because now I know where you are. The Golden Throne became silent. The Custodes waited. The Emperor opened his eyes once more, but something about them had changed. Not darker, not brighter, just different. The Captain General asked the final question. Are you still the Emperor? The Emperor looked toward Terra. Billions of humans were praying. Millions were fighting. Humanity was still imperfect, still violent, still afraid, but still free. The Emperor whispered, yes. Then he paused. A faint second voice emerged beneath his own. For now, the Captain General heard it. His hand moved toward his weapon. The Emperor noticed, and for the first time he smiled sadly. Because he understood the truth, the witness had not been defeated. It had become part of him, and somewhere, deep behind the Emperor's golden eyes, something was still awake. Something was watching humanity through the Emperor's eyes. Something that now knew every secret of mankind. The Golden Throne continued to burn. The Astronomicon continued to shine. The Imperium continued its endless war. And humanity celebrated the return of its Emperor. They did not know what had truly returned with him. They did not know that the greatest enemy humanity had ever faced was no longer outside the walls of Terra. It was sitting upon the Golden Throne, wearing the Emperor's face, and waiting for the moment when humanity would finally stop asking the question, is that really him?